Hi, welcome to Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Robert Green, and joining me today is Hasan Sabran. Hello, Hasan.
Hi, Robert. Thank you.
In a previous episode, we looked at the Cosmo DB SQL Studio extension that Hasan wrote for Visual Studio Code, which was awesome. And if you're working with Cosmo DB, it's a great extension to get. Makes it much, much easier to work with that back end. And we've done episodes before on building extensions for Visual Studio. We did a multi-part series on the new extension model. And you can also, obviously, build extensions for Visual Studio Code. So, Hasan, I thought we'd have you on the show and give us a quick overview on how you do that.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me again. We are going to try to, live coding today, and I'm going to show you how to create there are like two types you can create an extension in VS Code. One of them is with native APIs, and the other one is the web view. So we are going to focus on the web view today, and I'm going to try to show you what you need to start with so we can create new tabs in the VS Code. And if you'll have some time, maybe I can even show you how to publish them to Marketplace today.
Cool.
Right now, I open the VS Code here, and we are starting from the scratch. And if you see kind of like errors like that, this is usually like a warning error. So you can get rid of it for this session. You know, I just use the set execution policy. I just don't want to see all that warning messages. So that's going to actually take care of it. So as I said before, you know, to, have a web view or the native API view, you are going to need some kind of references first. For example, you're going to need the Node.js. It needs to get installed. If you need any kind of source control, we use usually most of the Git in the VS Code. And rather than that, we are going to use Human and the VS Code extension generator. So those are the two items you need to actually install before you do anything. So let's actually start with that first. So what I'm going to do here is I am just going to write npm install yo, and the other one is the generator code, which is this is it. So,
and what is yo again?
Yo is kind of like a framework. It just kind of start from the scratch, for example, VS Code extension, it just puts all the files together you need. It's almost like a framework, puts everything together like what VS Code is actually expecting. Okay. So as you can see, just install it. It shouldn't take that much time. I will say probably 30 to 45 seconds. We should be good to go. It will be installed. I already have them. I'm just doing this, so you will actually see. So as you can see, we are good to go. The first thing we are going to do right now, we need to let's actually create a new folder here for this. Let's call that Toolbox. And let's go in Toolbox. Now we are ready to run the human and the generator. So I'm going to say yo code here, which is going to actually create that whatever the VS Code extension is going to need. So when you run that, it's going to actually give you some options here. So as you can see, you can create all kind of stuff here. So I'm going to focus on the extension, but as you can see, there are all kind of other stuff that you can create for the VS Code. And I'm going to go and pick the JavaScript here. I'm not really, that good with the TypeScript, so you can pick one or the other. So I'm going to go to JavaScript, so it's going to ask you questions. So let's call this one Toolbox. Identifier, let's keep it Toolbox, so you can have some kind of description. You can always change those in the JSON file it's going to create. Okay. So let's say this is an awesome extension. And do you want to keep the type checkings? I'm just going to keep it no for now. If you have, source safe with the Git, the source control, you can do it from here. Since we don't have that much time, I'm just going to keep this no here. And I'm going to use npm for any kind of references in future if I want to add. Okay. As you can see, it created all the files and it's ready to go. So I have all the code I need to start with. So I'm going to start with open with code. This should open a whole new VS Code with all the files I need, and I create it from the Yo and the VS Code generator. So far, so good. We are doing good. And let me see here. Let me find my cursor and close all this stuff. And let's look at what we have so far. So I guess the main file you want to look at is the extension.js. This is the area that, whenever you write the comment on the VS Code, the activate is going to get triggered, and it's going to actually do whatever it says. So right now, it says it's going to give, console log congratulations, and it's going to send information to us, hello world from the toolbox. So it's not doing that much, but it's doing something. So that's most of your code is going to go here. So we can call that as a backend. So for example, if you're writing an extension and you are trying to create like a database or anything like that, this is the code that you need to add functions here and add all that code into. Another one, which is the package.json. So as you can see, you can override those. Those are the items actually we write. Version is pretty important here. And the VS Code is pretty important here, especially if you want to debug. So sometimes, whenever you create the framework might give you the wrong number here. So you want to be sure that you're going to go in here, help, and check the about. So this number, as you can see, this is the VS Code engine, should match to this number if you want to debug locally successfully. If it doesn't, sometimes, whenever you start debugging, it cannot find the comment, and it cannot even, start the new VS Code. So that's something, I guess.
That's the minimum version that this extension will work in, right? So
correct.
You don't have to change that every time somebody updates their Visual Studio Code, which happens about monthly.
Correct. So you don't have to change it, but whenever initially it should match to what you have. So whenever you're debugging, it will work. And rather than that, another important one here, this is the activation event. So as you can see, it says title. So whenever you press Ctrl-Shift-P, when you start to type this function is going to get triggered, which I just show you on the extension.js. So, and also, we had all the dependencies and all kind of stuff. We will kind of look at them later. But that's really the main functionality here we have. So I'm not going to change anything here. All I'm going to do is let's try this. So, it should work. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and start debugging with F5. When I click on it, it should open a whole new VS Code. And as you can see, it says extension development host.
Okay.
So now all I'm going to do here is I am just going to press Ctrl-Shift-P. And as you can see, hello world is already there.
Okay.
So I'm going to select that. And as you can see, I get a message. It doesn't do that much, but it's working. So
yeah.
So,
awesome.
So far, so good, right? Promising.
Yeah. So far, so very good.
So let's close this one. So actually, let's do something more, I guess, useful. So maybe try to create a tab, at least. Let's create a new tab when we actually register this one.
Now, so question, is this now installed in code forever? So if you launch code, is it separately? Is it installed?
No, it's not installed at all. Okay. It just, whenever you start debugging, it just creates a new VS Code, and it's available only there. So it's not installed anywhere yet.
Okay.
So next one, I guess let's try to create a new tab. To create a new tab, what we have to do here is, since this is the register comment here, I'm going to create a panel. So my panel, oh, look, Copilot is in front of me. So this is going to be nice. So I'm going to create a web view panel. And as you can see, Copilot is already giving me all kind of information. So I'm just going to, let's see, I'm going to take it as it is. So let's explain first. The first one is going to be the ID. So we can just change that to toolbox. And this will be the title. So let's say Visual Studio Toolbox Extension. So that will be on the tab. And I'm just going to leave those alone. It's going to open only one column. And well, let's take this out from here first. So this is going to open one panel, empty panel. So let's actually run this one here quickly. So that's going to open a new VS Code. And I am going to go here, hello world again. And bam, I have a tab.
Okay.
As you can see, empty. There's nothing in it, but it's a good start. So let's close this one and then just try to put something here. So as I said before, we are not doing the native API, we are doing the web view. So web view is almost like an iframe. You can put all kind of HTML stuff here. I picked the web view because my extension has all kind of custom stuff, like I have map and all kind of stuff, and those are not really available in the native API. So that's why I put the web view. And hence the web view kind of is easier, especially if you know how to write web application, HTML, JavaScript. You can do all kind of stuff. So what we need right now is we need some HTML. So let's do that. Let's create a function which actually returns some HTML. So let's see if Copilot is going to do well. There we go. Copilot is good.
Nice.
Use Copilot anytime you like. The only time you won't want to use the Copilot when you interview. I have all kind of stories with that. So let's see what we have here. So this is, I don't really need that much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this out from here. Let's say H1 Visual Studio Code, and let's do P Visual Studio Toolbox extension by Hasan. How about that?
Okay.
So right now what we did is we just create simple HTML. I don't really need all this stuff here. So let's take this out too. And let's take the title out. So it's pretty simple. And this function returns this HTML and it just puts on the panel. So let's run this again. And let's run our hello world. And back.
Right.
So we have the HTML working. Everything looks good. So what else we can do? What we can do here right now is very simple. There's nothing going on here. So probably next, what you want to do here is you want to introduce some JavaScript here, so you can do some kind of features. So for that, let's maybe try to change the color of this. How about that? So I'm gonna go here, put my script right here. I mean, everything is right now hard coded, but you can make this much better. So as you can see here, the first thing you are going to need is, let me accept this here. I'm going to need that VS Code acquire VS Code API. That is almost like the native API of VS Code. So that by that I can do all kind of stuff, and I can kind of send messages to the extension.js. Extension.js can go back and send messages back to HTML. So we are not there yet, but that is the idea. So I just take that. Let's say rather than doing that, let's make this very simple. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the VS Code. Then I have the P1. Let's just change the P1's color. Style color is yellow. So it's pretty simple. Let's see here. As you can see, I can just click here. This will just refresh it and it will have the latest one. So let's be sure everything is working fine here. Let's click refresh. And well, I guess this is easier. Yeah. So I'm going to go back here, run my hello world. And well, the color didn't change. That is interesting. What might happen? I have an idea. By default, VS Code will not let you run any script. So you have to define it in this function here. As you can see, we are creating the panel here. You are going to you have to enable the scripts. Without that, it doesn't matter how much JavaScript you have out there. It's not going to run it. So let's do this one here. by enabling the script here, then the script should be okay to go. So let's run this again and cross the fingers. We are going to actually have a yellow text this time. I don't like it. Let's see. Oh, I kind of know right now. So I think what we need here is we need the on load when the body is loaded. I think that is what we are going to need here. So let's see. I think we are going to need document at event listener, and we are going to look at the DOM content loaded. All right. And from here, we are going to have function, and this function should run this one.
Okay.
All right. That looks better. Let's try again.
I'm optimistic now.
Me too. So let's run this.
Yay!
There we go. All right. So now we have JavaScript. Maybe it's not doing that much. It's just changing color, but at least it's running. So everything is good. The next thing I'm going to actually show you here. So this might not be that much useful because your control is right now only in this HTML page. So what really we want is we want to be able to send messages from here to our extension CS file. So we can actually do things like, for example, if you say, create a new database, you click a button, you're going to send the database name to extension JS and it can create it for you, for example. So to do that, actually VS Code uses the web messaging. So to use that, we are going to actually add that in here. So for that, I guess we need at least one button. So let's put a simple button here. And let's say all extension JS. And actually, this one has all the features, all the stuff I need. As you can see, I am using the VS Code. The post messages, the web messaging post messages comes with the HTML. So I am just sending the alert, and I'm passing this hello from web view from my HTML file. So this should send the message. Now we have to catch the message. To catch the message, we are going to go back here, and we are going to say, as you can see, my Copilot is working great. So from here on it, receive the message. Let's see here, we're going to say message. Let's see. Yep, we're going to do that. And from here, we can actually say, show the information text. That is great. And that's it. So as you can see, all we are doing here, let's see what we are missing here. So there we go. So whenever we receive the message, this is going to run. Look at the case. We have the alert. For alert, we are going to take the same message coming from HTML, and we are going to return it back to the HTML page. So it should display it there. So that is the idea. And let's run it, and let's see how this is going to work. So here we go. Hello world. We have our button. We are going to click the button. As you can see, this already came from the beginning, so I can just take this out. And as you can see, we got hello from the web view. So it looks like I did a mistake here. I make this text box. This should be I guess, a button, but hey, it works. So every time I clean, as you can see, I get the message. So I'm going extension JS, and extension JS comes back to me, and in this way, it just gives me some text to display.
Cool.
So Really, I think this is most basics that I can
That's a lot easier
share.
than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I can share it. Well, I mean, WebView API is pretty simple, especially if you know HTML, JavaScript,
Yeah.
and some web application kind of background. It's pretty
Mhm.
easy. It's pretty easy.
Okay, so now how do you install this for yourself? And then if you
So
want to share it with others, what happens?
correct. So the next part, when you are happy with what you have, you want to publish this to marketplace, so you can actually share with others and people
Can
can
you just
download it.
write it for yourself? Do you have to publish it in the marketplace?
You can just write it and you can put it somewhere, your VSIX file, but
Okay.
it's much better in the kind of, it's central place, marketplace, and you can have all kind of information out there. You can see how
Okay.
many people come, how many of them is downloading it. So it gives you all kind of information you need, and it's used DevOps, believe it or not. So, and also if you put the marketplace, it will be available here.
Right.
So it will be much easier for people to, like find your extension. So to be able to do that, first you need to actually go to the Azure DevOps in here in dev.azure.com, and you have to create a new organization. So, for example, my organization is Sovereign Web, and that is actually my extensions organization here.
Mm-hmm.
After you create this one, as you can see, when you click here, it's going to ask you, I'm not going to go there, but it's just going to ask you some common questions about the names and, all kind of information. So that part is not really tricky. After you create this one, you are going to actually need a personal token. So to create a personal token, you are going to go and click right here, user settings. And as you can see, you have the personal access tokens here.
Mm-hmm.
So when you click on it, my token is here. No worries. The value nobody can see. Even me, I cannot see it. So it's here. But you can just right click here as a new token. You're going to give a name for your token. Let's say new token. This is my organization, the one that we just created in the DevOps. You can put an expiration. Usually I keep it 30 or 60 days. And the tricky part here is you have to actually go and click here to show all scopes here and find the marketplace. This right here. And you have to click the manage. So this token is going to manage the marketplace for you. So really DevOps is going to be the pipeline out there for us. So when you click the create here, which I'm not going to do it, but it's going to display a new token for you. And the value of the token, you have to keep it somewhere safe because you are not going to be able to see that again in here. So wherever you feel safe, I guess you can keep it out there. And if you forget it, you have to come back here and create a new token for your, the area for you. So that is the first part you have to accomplish. The second one is after creating the organization and the personal access token, you need to create a publisher in Marketplace. So for that, you go to Marketplace, Visual Studio Manage. So let me take this out from here. And when you come here, this one should be empty. For me, I already have mine. But all you have to do is you're going to create a publisher here. And when you log in here, you want to be sure that you are picking exactly the same account, how you create this organization, so they can kind of match and the token will work. So it has to be the same account. So in here, really, there are two values very important. ID is unique, and this will be actually in your URL when you actually pass on the marketplace, and you cannot change that. So I guess pick it wisely. That's the ID of your extension. Okay. And the name is you can make a company name, brand name. It will get displayed on the marketplace page right under the ID. So those are the two required fields that you have to do. And rather than that, you can kind of add all kind of information about you. You can put logos and other stuff. And after that, you click create here, and you are going to end up with a new publisher. So for example, this is mine. So those are the two things you have to do first before we go back to Visual Studio. Now, you have the token, you have the publisher. Now, we are in here. This is our extension, and I'm going to go back to the terminal here. Let's see. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to need the Visual Studio Code extension. And to install that, you just go npm install global, and it's going to be VS Code VSCE. This is going to give me an error because I already have that. So it's going to say that you already have that, I cannot install it. But for you, it should install and work fine. As you can see, it says it's already there. So the first thing you are going to do, you want to be sure that the token that you just created works. And to actually do that, you can easily write VSCE, I believe it's login, and you are going to put your publisher name that you created in the marketplace. So mine is Sovereign Web, and I create it. It's going to say, oh, I already know your token. Are you sure you want to override it? I say, no, I'm not going to do that. But for you, it should ask the token. Okay. And you actually paste the token here. Then it's going to remember your login for the other comments that we are going to write. So I'm just going to say no here just to be safe. And this is going to work. So the next, we want to publish it. So to publish it, there are a couple of ways you can publish. And the most common is really the VSCE publish. So when you actually enter that, which I don't want to do that because it's going to insert, the publish in the wrong place, but it's going to ask you all kind of information. The biggest, I guess, the thing you need to watch here is if you look at your file. So if you can just publish it just like that, but that means that it's going to use a package.json. And you want to be sure that the version number is larger than what you have in Marketplace. If it's not larger, it will fail. Okay. So, or you can actually go here in the publish, you can actually, say that 1.1.1. That will take it as a version. So it will overwrite whatever you have in the package.json.
Okay. Does it update the package.json?
It doesn't.
It doesn't, okay.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. So from here, when you click the publish, it's going to ask you a couple of questions. It's going to check, for example, it's not going to find source control. It's going to ask you, are you sure? It's not going to find license. It's going to say, are you sure you want to still publish this? You don't have a license. So it's going to ask you some kind of, couple of questions. You can say yes or no. And after that, it's going to publish it to Marketplace. Now, a big, I guess, a tip from me, because I've been doing that for a couple of times. And sometimes, you run it locally, many times it happens every day. It works for me, but it doesn't work for others, right? So, and the main reason for that is usually when you go and look at the package.json, you have this dev dependencies. Right. So you want to be sure that those dependencies in, production too. And usually that is the problem. Maybe you just add this TypeScript, for example, and it's available only in dev, not in prod. So you might be, missing references, and it might work locally. You want to say that, oh, this is great, it's working. You publish it. It will publish to Marketplace. But if another user kind of downloads it, and if they don't have that reference, then that means it's going to fail. Okay. And your thing is not going to work. So the best, I guess, how I handle that is usually, even I know that reference is there, what you can do here is you can go and say here, you can say VSCE package. So this will package it locally. And it will create it says the README. So you have to kind of change something here. So this is your README. This is going to be available for everyone. Yeah. So I'm just going to change it right now. Say this extension created for Visual Studio Toolbox. So let's save this one. Let's try again. So now it's going to create that VSIX file, which means that you can take that file and install it locally to your machine.
There we go.
And after that, be sure that it's running, in production in your machine. Mm-hmm. Then try to, I guess, publish it.
Or
That's
perhaps
usually,
you're just writing the extension for yourself, and
correct.
that's how you can get it running always in Visual Studio Code, install it without putting it in the marketplace. And then eventually you may or may not put it in the marketplace for others to use.
Correct. I mean, the biggest problem is if there is something wrong with it and you don't catch it after you put the marketplace, you cannot roll it back.
Right.
So that is the biggest problem. That's why I kind of create that, I use a package and run it locally. Be sure it's working in my machine as a, production. Then I try to publish it, because if you are going to publish something broken, then you're going to try to fix it as soon as possible. Yeah, that might get ugly.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
that's great.
I think we cover most of the stuff, really.
There's good documentation on the extent on what you can do with this.
Yes, if you actually look at the VS Code's website, it kind of displays, it has all the native API, web view, how to do it. There are some videos out there you can watch. So there's a great documentation. And the other thing, actually, maybe I can show you. So this was just a simple one. If you want to actually see the real one that I have and how complex that can get, I can show you right here. Yeah. So as you can see, my extension JS here, I have all those functions. This one executes the query, for example. It takes all of these options here. And if I want to, for example, maybe show you this is the activate. So, as I said before, when we create the HTML, it was pretty hard-coded. So you might have CSS files, JS files. You can use this to actually get the local file. And I pass those to the HTML I create. So as you can see, I have all kind of messages here. And this is the one. See, I pass my JavaScript, CSS, and all kind of stuff here.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Dynamically. And, I have my CSS file, JS file. So you can do all kind of stuff here, since you are really creating a web application here, which is going to get displayed on one tab on VS Code. Awesome.
That is cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So thanks for showing us that. It's definitely not as complicated as I was expecting it to be.
Yeah. I tried to make it simple, I guess.
Good job. All right. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed that, and we will see you next time on Visual Studio Toolbox.